Hello and greetings. Welcome to our first Roundtable Panel, GatherVerse AI XR Summit, Day 2. Our panel of today is titled Who Controls the Layer Around Us? Power, Access, and the Future of Immersive and the Immersive Future. As Christopher has said earlier, this is the best time to have these conversations because tomorrow may be late. Now, without going too much into detail, I want to bring our panelists from around the world to introduce themselves briefly. I believe we are a whole roundtable and the world is ready to listen to what we have to us to have, and we're going to be very brief with our remarks. Now, who do I want to start with? Charlene, let's start with you briefly. Tell us who you are, what inspired you to join us today.
Thank you so much. Well, that's a great question, Lynn. My name is Charlene Nichols. I'm the founder of Omniverse City. And I don't talk about this a lot, but I'm also the founder of Optical Near Me, which is an ecosystem that empowers an entire industry. What inspired me to be here today is one of the first people I ever reached out to in my journey was Christopher from GatherVerse, because I knew as a woman in tech and early stages of building Omniverse City, I was going to need great people around me because I was building tech for a very different reason than a lot of the other people around us. I really wanted to build technology that was going to have an impact. And so
Yes,
I've continued to stay with this community because of that reason. So thank you for having me today.
we're very happy to have you join us, and thank you for even highlighting how you started, because here we're the She Power and we welcome you over and over again. Nolwenn, please tell us who you are briefly, where you come from, and what inspired you to be here.
Yeah, thanks to be here with you today. It is a great pleasure to be here. I am Nolwenn. I live in France. I am a CCO of HAIDO. It is an international consulting firm specialized in innovation and emerging technology. So I work with startup and SME essentially. To be sure, will be tech for humanity. And I know GatherVerse with you, Lynn, from the beginning. We discussed about metaverse 3 or 4 years ago. So it is a long time now I know you. So I appreciate to be here today to discuss about the impact of AI and XR on the future and our humanity.
You're welcome, Nolwenn. We come from a very, very long time. And thank you so much for joining us. Tanya, over to you, briefly.
Hi everyone, I'm Tanya. I come from a background of AI and data, and I'm currently working with an Innovate UK partnership program. It collaborates University of Reading and Hawkins Brown. My work is to build intelligent systems, but what really interests me is how genuinely they support people in their daily lives. And over time, I found myself becoming more curious about not what we build, but how these systems actually shape human experiences. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation and exploring it with you all of you.
Wow, Tanya, you're very welcome. We're looking also to forward to explore this journey with you. Richard, thank you for coming once again at GatherVerse, but please tell us who you are, what inspired you to join us briefly. Your mic, please. Your mic, kindly. Yes, there you
Thanks.
go.
Yes, I'm Richard Bukowski. I'm a CEO and founder of Digital Wheel of Fortune. I'm a consultancy that focuses on digital realities. So it's the convergence of humanity and technologies, both with via trend analysis, signal finding, then also on how culturally connections are either being made, voided, when it comes to the convergence of all of these amazing technologies.
Wow, we're happy to have you once again, and you're very welcome. Devin, over to you briefly. Tell us who you are, what inspired you to join us today.
Hey, Lynn, thank you for having me. My name is Devin Baldwin. For those of you who do not know, I'm a creative technologist, WebXR developer, and educator. Really focused on building not experiments, experiences that
Yes.
connect innovation and with real world impact. I do this for organizations and companies. And yeah,
All right. Thank you for that brief introduction and thank you for joining us once again. Anisha, over to you briefly.
Hi, Lynn. Hi, everyone. My name is Anisha, and I am working as a senior data engineer, working in AI and big data for fintech and also for telecommunication previously, and also working on some work for critical infrastructure, like how we can leverage AI and data for critical infrastructure. So I've been working in the industry for close to 10 years now, and actually working on some of controls and how data is being leveraged, how data is being used in the critical infrastructure, or for disaster response. That's what I'm working on, and I'm glad to join you all today.
We're also happy to have you today. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Love, over to you.
Hi, my name is Helmut Love, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I have created over $750 million in technology, particularly in healthcare and tech and in AI at IBM. And I realized today I coach people on how to think like nine-figure thinkers because AI is going to be so disruptive in terms of wealth. But particular for this topic, I believe that we are being asked social, spiritual, and economic questions with AI that we've never answered or had to answer. So I ran actually for mayor of Atlanta with an AI agenda because I believe it will enable us to democratize services and solutions that we never imagined were possible. So this conversation around controlling the layer that's around us is critical to that possibility. And so I'm so excited to jump in the topic.
Yes, and we're very happy to have you, and congratulations, and keep going with your leadership journey when it comes to politics. Stefan, over to you.
Hey, I'm Stefan Youngblood in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I think I need to talk to Dr. Helmut. Yeah, it's really great to be here today, and I'm at the place, sort of a cross section between faith, technology, and sort of our experience of how those two things mend together when it comes to AI literacy. I run the Black AI think tank and National Black AI Literacy events. And it's really great to be here. This is, I don't know how many times it's been, but I really like here to be here and support. Thanks.
Stefan, you're always welcome. As many times as you can join us. And over to you, James, as well. You can please tell us who you are.
Hey, Lynn, nice to see you. Nice to see you all. Thank you for having me once again. I really appreciate it. For those of you that don't know me, my name is James Welniak, and I am the Director of Mindfulness, Focus, and Attention with CUP Advisory. That's CUP with a K, that represents the self, the individual. But I'm also the face, a male face, an adult male face of screen addiction. Screen addiction, recovery, prevention, and transformation. My partner and I'm ADD, he's ADHD. We developed a framework that really talks about, actually prepares you for when the screen disappears. When the screen disappears, we talk so much about technology, so much about the screen and what the screen can do. Well, this is what happens at the age of 40 some years old when the screen controls you. So I'm here because I'm here to share how we can get control of the screen so the screen does not control us.
All
So thank you
right.
for having me.
Yes, we're very happy to have you, James. We're looking forward to learn more about how to control the screen instead. And I am Lynn Gitao, Communications Director at GatherVerse. And with this said and done, let's get direct into the heart of the matter. We've talked about control. James, someone like James is talking about screen control. We've talked about ethics. These are concerns that are still being raised, but we want to bring them on a deeper level with you here at hand, who owns the massive layer of human experiences. And before we even start to chime in, I want us to be really brief. I am mindful of our time. I am mindful that everyone has something to say, and we're very, very attentive to listen what you have to say, and we're here to listen. But kindly, let's be brief. And I will start with you, Charlene. You have worked in the immersive space for quite a long time, as well as Richard. I'm bringing this to you, who owns the immersive layer of human experience. Please.
Well, I'll start with I love the fact that you're using the word control because we're in an era right now where we are actively and intentionally giving control to the user of Omniverse City. When we have events, we make it very clear to them, yes, I'm glad that you're here. It's a beautiful world. It's all these beautiful things people have created. 99% of our creators don't really build on an SDK, they dream build, which means they tell us what they want, and then we have to give it to them. And
Yeah.
we don't say, hey, here's what you we're talking about. I'll give you a quick, perfect example. I had a young woman who is an actress. She's from the Bollywood community. She's here in Hollywood now, kind of reinventing herself and wants to kind of create a fusion of these two cultures, this American and Indian culture. And we had to create a space that represented that. And she
Yes.
was in control of that just by telling us, what she wanted and by us providing that. Now we have to give her control by showing her how to run events there, how to provide controls to her audience. We don't really know how to use these spaces. Everybody has a different set of controls in this experience because it's the first time in our history, our human history, that decentralization is possible. So control and accountability is actually quite important. And I'll let somebody else kind of chime in on that.
Definitely, Charlene, and thank you for that classical example. I'm sure that resonates with some of our speakers, but I want to hear from you, Richard, and Devin, I'm coming to you as well. Richard, what do you have to say?
Well, when I think about spatial computing, the first things that get to me are that they are predominantly, built by Silicon Valley and Shenzhen, and it all, kind of starts even the collection of information and data, kind of with embedded in assumptions about commerce and social interactivity and information hierarchy. So I'm familiar with it's all out there. They're kind of multimodal, hopefully not fully all connected yet without privacy. But again, if everything looks, if the main problem, or again just even the main input is coming from a handful of of gatherers, then the entire perception could be wrong, or at least not as human as we'd like it to be.
Yes, I totally agree. And it feels to me like most of the innovation that comes around, someone has to dominate. It's like there's always a dominant party to every innovation, and XR is not excluded from that. But Devin, I just want to hear your expressions. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I feel in a legitimate system, ownership is split.
Yes.
People own rights over their identity, presence, motion, gaze, likeness, that type of stuff. And then creators own their works. But I feel like communities and public institutions, should kind of be in charge of stewarding civic overlays, as far as companies and different entities own the infrastructure for the human layer of things, but we own, or more so control, what we give to the human layer, which is our identity, presence, and just our essence, if you will. So it's a give and take. I would say it's split between those two.
Yes, definitely. It's a split, but I think someone has more share. Someone has a lion's share than the other. But let's go deeper. Let's find out more. Stefania have something to say. Please chime in.
Yeah, so I was going to throw this out. Number one, there's a child that's the age of one of my grandchildren outside the window just playing. And just to see her through a clear screen, not something that's reflecting something back and global and AI, is refreshing and beautiful. So when it comes to control, I remember somebody saying one time that really control is an illusion. And I don't want to toss this part out like it's not a part of this conversation. So bear with me. It just says this. It's an ancient writing. For by him, all things were created, both in the heavens and on the earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him, our creator, and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. So I don't know a sort of future in which it's just mankind and robots or AI battling it out. I really think thank God for the Artemis that went up and showed us just how tiny we are and how much more there is out there that is possibly unknowable in this human framework. I'll stop there.
All right, that's true. That's a very good reminder that even despite of all the innovation, there is a creator who is superior than any other innovation that we think we have. James, I see you nodding. It's like you have something to say. Bring it on.
There we go. I'm off mute. Yeah. So I learned this I think the GatherVerse community knows my relationship with screens. Let's
Yeah,
just be clear. You can
definitely.
laugh about it later,
Yeah.
but here, I actually discovered this about control because Stefan, what you were just saying was so spot on about you don't have control. And here's the thing: is that all of our control is put into this device. And the last time I was on GatherVerse was with Christopher, and this died. I was in a 15-day trip across the hemisphere, a business trip, and I was sweating because I didn't have SMS. I wasn't able to authenticate, so I couldn't get into banking. I couldn't get in. I was on day 2, and so I put a link to an article. I'm not promoting, not selling anything, but if you want to follow along in my journey and my story of recovery and transformation, this happened. So I was stuck, and I had to come up with a plan, and I'm not made of money. So buying a brand new iPhone. And so luckily I had transferred all of my nervous system, focus and attention habit routines to this as part of my program, as part of the framework when you want to reduce down control and get control back to yourself. And here's the thing about AI environments. One quick thing, Lynn, is that putting these routines, attention, focus and retention routines and reminders into platforms to say, hey, you've been on this. You need to take a break, human. Let's do some talk about the nervous system, talk about how to get your focus and attention back. That's what I'm all about. And that's why I'm here. And I love this question because the question is, you should own it. You, God, your guides, the
Yeah.
universe. That's who owns it.
Amazing reminder, or putting that reminders when it's time to put the screen off. I absolutely agree with that. And just allow me to steer a little bit when it comes to ownership. I remember Devin mentioned about the balance when it comes to ownership, but I just want to let us dive in more deeper. I'm coming to you, Nolwenn and Tanya. What does true ownership of an massive environment actually mean for the people living inside it? Let's leave the companies alone. Can we just speak for the people living inside it? I remember Stefan said control is an illusion, but let me hear something else. Let me see what is your perception on this. Nolwenn, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So ownership is very hard, to be fair, and we produce many data. That is true. And in Europe, probably we have many standards also.
Yes.
And we tried in Europe that to protect citizens. So we have GDPR, and I know many countries would like to have the same because the idea is to protect the citizens to avoid manipulation of our data, to be fair. Today, we have an AI Act. So we are the first continent who have a regulation dedicated on AI to classify all risk and to be sure that it will, again, not manipulate the citizen. We have, for XR, we have a XR code of conduct. So we have a big community. The name it is XR for Europe, and we have a program. It is XR for Human. The other project is OpenVerse. So we try in our continent to take care of the data of the citizen.
Yes.
And in the same time, educate people. Not only that, that's why now we have different ministry dedicated on AI. So here in my country, we have a dedicated ministry about that. And she worked with different ministry, including education, including industry, because AI is everywhere. And especially when we discuss about ownership and immersive environment. So the idea for us in Europe is try. I can't say we will achieve to do that, but is try to have the a shape for the
Yes.
citizen to have a confidence of technology and trust because we can develop a tech for humanity only if people are trust on technology and they can control the product and they understand how it's work. And that is started by education and vigorization. And I guess I am very happy to be with you because I'm convinced this is to share how we work in our different country, in our different continents, how we can build an inclusive technology because it is the aim at the end.
Yeah, definitely. And you bring a very important point. And Europe has been a case study of putting guardrails for the citizens themselves. I wonder if more countries are taking that path or each continent has its own path. But thank you for also highlighting on the issue of trust. That is something we're going to go to. But Tanya, let me hear your thoughts. I'm coming to you, Anisha, as well as Dr. Love. But Tanya, over to you.
Thanks, Lynn. I'd love to build on what Devin said. We often talk about ownership as being part of being companies or platforms, but in immersive spaces, it feels more layered than that. Yes, the infrastructure is owned by who built it, but there are real people living and interacting in these environments every day, and to some extent, it's their demand that is being served by these technologies that are being built. And for example, if something gets built, but the user doesn't feel that it feels overwhelming to use, or they don't feel the need, so it won't launch because there is demand. That's why there is supply, and that's the only way it is working. So people do have ownership, and sometimes I feel like for me as a kid, when phones weren't that prominent, I was like, oh, I would love if I could just call somewhere to my brother, or just go there and talk to him. Yeah, and we were like, that would have been magic, but now it is today. And sure, there are some downsides to what we have, but there are also some good points, and it's actually us who needs to find a balance. It lies to with us how we want to accept what we are building. Yeah.
All right, that is remarkably expressed. I believe that is the case. There's so many things we used to dream of. Talking through a glass, watching the world in a different angle just through a glass, talking to people around the world, like what we're doing right now. These are things that we used to dream of. But right now it's becoming a reality. Isn't that amazing? It is amazing. But at the end of the day, as what Tanya expressed, we need to find that balance, what is amazing and what is going to that degree of harm. But I also want to hear from you, Anisha. What is your take on this particular subject? Your mic, kindly. There you go.
Hi, thanks, Lynn. So I think for ownership, like the true ownership in an environment like this means like multiple things to me. So most of the ownership is held by the platforms, and for example, Meta holds a lot of the ownership materials, and also like when you go back, the infrastructure providers like the cloud providers and all, they hold a lot of ownership rights. But I feel like what needs to be like addressed right now is users or content creators, they think that they actually hold a lot of ownership, but there's a certain line which exists between like actual ownership or like legal ownership and actual the ownership that they feel that they have right now. So the content creators or owners, they can feel that they actually own their own data, own digital assets, or the right to anonymity or the right to unauthorized use. So that needs to be addressed. Sometimes like you need to have control over your digital representation, or sometimes you need to have control over your like social growth, or the protection against your digital assets, a protection against your like content creation. They invest a lot of time and energy into creating that content and creating the digital life. So I think that needs to be addressed. Like there are certain controls which needs to be put in, for example, like identity ownership or like the digital asset ownership, which as far as in today's world, I feel it's mostly controlled by the platforms that we are using. But as someone mentioned that the GDPR and all needs to be like added in other countries as well, and not only in Europe. It needs to be present in the North America or other countries.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'd like to point is the economic ownership. So, for example, a content creator creates some digital assets. You should be having the right to like monetize your creations. And there are certain times, for example, TikTok as a platform, there are a lot of creators who get banned, and they lose their like life's worth of their work, and they don't get a chance to actually go and talk about it. So the portability of that like they should be, even if they get banned, they should be able to port that their life's work to another platform. So I think that needs to be addressed.
Definitely. And let's just unpack what you said when it comes to we live in a world of content. It's like everyone is creating content, whether writing, whether through a podcast, whether through a video, whether through a reel. Majority of the people and the younger generations especially are creating content. But the question is, who owns this content? Can one day this platform wake up and say, we no longer allow this kind of content? For your content to go further, you need to pay this amount. And I'm seeing that with so many platforms. I'm seeing that with LinkedIn. I'm seeing that with so many platforms now getting that trend. If you want to get reaching a wider reach, can you just pay this amount of money and we will expose you to the world? I certainly think that I understand the point of monetizing, but I feel like there's an explosive that is not being handled. And I really appreciate, Anisha, that you brought that out. We can unpack that deeper in another session or something. But as for now, I want to hear from Dr. Love. Please tell us what you have to say.
Sure. I'll say a few things. So one, I think the ownership ultimately it belongs to the people. And what I mean is these should serve all of us, right? The challenge is, I think we see this already in social media, is that we all are creating this content. We're all in part, engaged in that, but we, the people, aren't all safe, right? Is it safe for a child to go onto just social media? We're not even talking here about where AI is taking us. And it isn't safe because maybe they're getting access to things they shouldn't. Even for an adult, like let's say an adult has a gambling problem. Have we made it safe for them to get engaged on platforms? No, we kind of put it all on that individual, right? And we kind of exploit one another, right? The challenge is this new stage of AI will enable of exploitation and influence like none other, right? So now we're really trusting each other with kind of putting each other into different universes. And I think the thing that's going to be interesting is we still need the freedom of choice for individuals and sovereignty, right?
Yes.
But we also need the ability for various groups to compete over how safe they're going to make their spaces. I think we're going to see us competing, right, in which universes we're going to be in. And those individuals who really curate with wisdom, human wisdom, right, the spaces that are best for other humans will hopefully be the winners of the game, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because I'm happy to choose to go into a space that is curating the best for me as opposed to exploiting me.
Yes.
And I think the last thing I want to say is I do think that government has a very important role in terms of protecting, right? And we're not even there with social media to enable those sort of like safe spaces, right? And now it's going to get next level. Think about AI applied to education, right? What messages will you send to a child? We
Yes.
already have nations that have no problem feeding each other hate, right? To children, right? And this is going to be possible at a next level. So there's obviously great danger, but there's great good, right? And we're just going to have to curate. The owners are going to have to realize a next level responsibility. And I believe the government is going to have to play an important parental role of making sure that we don't harm one another. And that's going to be unnatural because today they are such slaves to lobbyists. They are such slaves to dollars. We're going to have to find a way to curate political leaders who stand above those things. And that's the challenge in front of us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Lynn,
Dr. Love. Okay, please chime in.
I have to chime in on this, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I've built a system like this. So Omniverse City is 5 years old, and we've solved this problem through an invitation strategy. So when you have a space, first of all, you own all of the assets that you bring to the space. If we're creating, which we do at a very low cost, if you look at our model, how we've developed the Omniverse City, we've lowered the bar of entry for anyone to be a creator in this space. And we've allowed people to bring things that they've built in other platforms to the Omniverse City. Since we're pixel streaming, they own the content and they could broadcast it to a place where people can enjoy it, yet they still
Yes.
own it. We have to really acknowledge how many creators have been displaced recently. Thousands of platforms and people have lost their life's work. Legacy is really important. And I think the biggest answer that we have to address is education and accountability. Every individual has to really be in a position to own their own little fiefdom of content, information, domain, and then have a place where it could be shared. And unfortunately, the leaders that had the ball, they never built with that intention in mind. But there's a lot of platforms who have. And,
Yes.
invitation and letting people control their domain and be accountable for what goes on within their domain, and then have an overarching kind of city-wide strategy where it's kind of how civilization began. We
Yes.
didn't really have any of these technologies.
Yes, definitely, Charlene. I want to put a hold to that, and this is something we can pick up. And I just want to acknowledge more innovators like yourself, Charlene, what you're doing, bringing up platforms where the creators have their ownership rights. And what Dr. Love said, I think there's gonna be also a season where we're gonna have so many innovators, and us as the consumers, we're going to have to choose who is the safest for me, and that is the person who wins. That's the future I'm looking forward to. But allow me to shift gears to another topic, that is, how can we guarantee immersive systems serve humanity? Richard, I see you want to chime in, and anyone who wants to chime in on this, but I want to hear from you, Richard, Devin, Stefan, James. Over to you.
Sure. Just a quick thing about what we were just talking about. When I look at pervasive sensing technologies, it reminds me a lot of my background, which is in marketing and like a very early digital marketer. And so I'm like always surprised on how, again, because we're talking about like an environment that the physical environment itself is the sensor. So we may not be able to, kind of compartmentalize like who we are, what we want to do, and things like that. And then again, how people use that information. So I don't think half the people in the world know how much the advertisers pick up information on you. Some people kind of pick it up, these days on their browser because they might be cookied and they're retargeted the same thing over and over again. But if you pay, with your credit card at the supermarket, that information is shared, it's sold, it's done, all those kind of things. But I like to think about more as like a utopian, view, because there's dystopia all over the place. So, my voice is, kind of little, kind of forward that way when it comes to, how we've been able to hopefully be able to use these things like smart flooring, letting people know that they haven't gotten out of bed, in a day or two, or acoustic technologies, that can kind of tell just from your voice, that you have COVID, that you might have, have respiratory, and again, and having this information, used for, again, for a betterment of you, betterment of your, of your community. So just real quick on that part, that there's a lot of information already out there, that, again, on a very ambient way, and again,
Richard,
a lot of good, uses could be.
Richard, I'm listening to you, and I could hear the secrets of the advertisers being exposed, and I'm very appreciative that you brought that out. I'm sure that our audience are marking that down, and just being safe, not because our information is out there. Is there a way? Are we at a point of no return? Devin, please tell us what you think, and then I'll come to you, Stefan, then James.
Well, I spoke about it in a previous GatherVerse. It's like how Richard said, it's like they're using our data, using lots of information. My apologies, I'm getting a call. ignoring it though. They're using our information, and a lot of times we just go through just accepting permissions and giving away our rights just through these contracts that we're not going through and really being careful about what we're reading about. So we give our information, we give our personal, tidbits about ourselves so they can be able to market to us. And, a lot of times that's to our detriment. Not so much a detriment, but I don't want to buy what you're selling me, put plainly. But that's to answer that question. Did you want me to speak on the proposed question or just that?
Oh, just that. That is enough. That was impactful, compelling, and thank you for chiming in on that. Stefan, I want to hear from you, James, and anyone who'd want to chime in. I see our time is really, really flying fast. But briefly, Stefan.
Yeah, I'll go real fast. And how do we guarantee it? I think we guarantee it by doing it. So if you are involved with human kindness, goodness, works, whatever it is, relationships, just do that. So that's how you do it. By guaranteeing it is you do it. It's not necessarily in front of a screen, but just go do human, and that's it. I just want to throw that out there.
Amazing. Go to human. I see Shelling clapping to that, and we totally agree with that. James, what do you have to say?
Yeah, so from a guaranteeing freedom from a system perspective, I go back to the core of who I am, which is a consultant. I'm a consultant, been consulting since I came out of my mother's womb, I think. I worked for Deloitte for 15 years, but I was on the business side. So here's the thing, and I'm all about strategy. Instagram got into trouble because they didn't have a strategy for attention, and the kids consumed by it. I was consumed by it, but it also goes with shopping. It also goes with Amazon. Even LinkedIn is at risk because they have a quota. Wow, if you publish a lot, and Charlene, you were talking about this, I believe, about over promoting, over content, over. So if these programs, these platforms don't have a plan, a strategy for your attention, ask for that. Ask for that, because that's what destroyed mine. I didn't lose focus and attention because I lacked ambition. I won a fancy award at Deloitte for high performer. I was the consultant that sat on the toilet, but I did not have a strategy for my attention.
I hear you, James.
We actually have
Shelly, let me just before you even go there, I think I see so many people on a chiming in, but Shelly, I'll bring you on this. But let me just give Tanya and Dr. Love something to say, and then I'm coming to you, Shelly. And Anisha, I also see you paying attention. Nolwenn, I think everyone wants to chime in on this, but let's start with Tanya. Please bring it on. Tanya?
Yeah, hi. I'd like to answer to James first. Is that I do agree that when it was built, all of this was not foreseen. The impact it had, currently also what impact AI has, we don't know. We can't fully see it. If we zoom out for a second, we don't know what's going to happen in every aspect. However, what we can do is have a more open-minded, more intentional, people-centric approach, like Stefan said, and having the people at the heart of it, just like how Instagram now has a time limit, how much time limit you want to use it for, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. I used to, go through the scrolling, the doom scrolling that we all go through, and I however, got control back to me.
Good.
Thank you. That I want to set a 15-minute timer and I don't exceed it. And Instagram has provided it. So as long as we feel safe in an environment that's being created, it has a people-centric approach. I think we should only follow those kind of softwares and those kind of communities and those spaces to be in.
Yes, that was nicely built from what James said. And Anisha and Dr. Love, and then Nolwenn, and then Charlene, because I see our timer is kicking. But Anisha, quickly tell us what you think. Do you want to build up on what James said?
Yeah, sure. So I feel that building models where the users can actually control the systems, and you have like user controlled models or technical models which are user controlled, and some models which build upon the trust that the users place in the systems is very important and should be added. As like Tanya said, like Instagram or other platforms have provided mechanisms for actually building that up, and where you actually take control back to the user. So that I feel is much more important. Another thing that I would like to mention is like self-regulatory bodies. For example, we do have GDPR, we do have like other bodies which guarantee the um, regulation, but I think there are other regulatory bodies that should be built and on a granular level, for example, on a technical level, on an organizational level, that should be included more and more. And user controlled AI, which serves the like user of the interests of the user and not the interest of the platform, should be included. So I think that will help.
Definitely, the user of the interest should always, the
Yeah.
interest of the user should always comes
Mhm.
first. And Dr. Love, and then I'll come to you, Shadine, and then we'll have something to with you, Nolwenn. But Dr. Love.
Yeah, so two things. I think it's important that people can own it. And so I get very excited about sovereignty. I get very excited about the competition for the different universes and what's influencing them. But I think the other thing that's important is that we need to, I would say, fund or incentivize the humanity of these universes. And what I mean by that is if you look at I'm going to use education, right? Or I'm going to use wealth sharing. We know that wealth sharing is one of the biggest issues facing us as modern humans. How are we using these universes to forward financial education, forward entrepreneurship, forward actually the actual sharing of wealth, disbursement of grants, right? Direct to entrepreneurs, as opposed to through right large entities that really take advantage of those large dollars. There's a level of integrity that we'll be able to apply to systems because of AI. And I think that we need to incentivize those through collective agencies like government, not to actually do them, but to incentivize private-public partnerships and innovators who would take AI to places that don't obviously look like they would make a ton of money, right? But if you think about even just applying AI to mental health in foster care children, right? What can you do to create universes for them that are actually helping them when maybe the human world around them is not supportive? We
Yes.
haven't even explored those things. But I think innovation in those areas are going to ensure that they serve humanity. And we can incentivize that, both philanthropically and within our government.
Exactly. And thank you for bringing up the point of education and the role of education when it comes to even just bringing in the control factor of technology. But let me just hear from Nolwenn. Do you have something to say? How can we guarantee immersive systems serve humanity?
Yeah, I'm totally agree with all what you say, all of you, to be fair, and I really appreciate our discussion. My perception, first of all, if we discuss about access, about immersive world, we should remind us that not everybody have access to internet. So 28% of the world population don't have internet access. So when we discuss about digital world, we should remind us that not everybody have digital access. In order to have a tech for humanity, AI, XR for humanity, I'm pretty convinced that we need more and more public and private partnership, to be fair, and we're really on collaboration and not on competition. That it is the math. It is a hill for me if we are on competition, and more to work with interdisciplinary approach. So many times in tech, we are tech push, to be fair, because we love tech. We love that. But many times we forgot all things around neuroscience. We forgot social and human science. We forgot anthropology. We forgot sociology. While it is this kind of person who can help us at the same time to integrate humanity. And tech for tech, to be fair, I'm sorry to say that, is stupid. Push techno for push techno is not for humanity, because it is critical material behind that. And we can't consider we are only different planet. We have only one planet. And all of us, we live in the same planet. So that's why I'm very convinced that we need more and more public-private partnership. We need more and more interdisciplinary approach. And also, if you want to speak with everybody, to be fair, we have to take into account all bias and stereotype we put on our IT system.
Yes.
Because not everybody is speaking English. And today, when you are in the tech sector, if you don't speak English, it's very hard. So I know so many people. How many people speak Swahili? How many people speak small language? We have more than 3,000 languages around the world. So that it is a diversity, and we need this diversity in our system. So I'm sorry, it's not the right answer about the question, but it was important on that too, I guess.
And that is a compelling point that you bring there. I was currently reading a book called Range, and it was saying that what we're heading to is a world of marrying different interdisciplinaries, marrying health with finance, marrying health with technology. We can't just afford to be specialized in one thing, especially technologists. And I remember Christopher normally says, if you're a technologist, this is your time to be a technologist and an educator at the same time. So you bring up a very important point. And Charlene, I'm coming to you as well as Stefan, as our time flies. I want us to be brief. How do global differences influence access and control of immersive worlds, and how can that be addressed?
I just think I want to go back to the universal point. I have given people ultimate control from all different countries and all different backgrounds and all different ethnicities and all different social groups. And I'm going to tell you that most people don't know what to do with all of that control. They need a lot of support. They need to understand, like, first of all, let's not even forget about the fact that we're talking about mostly small batch experiences, because I don't know if anyone here has tried to get 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 or 1,000,000 people concurrently in a space, but it's extremely difficult, especially if they're coming in from around the world. I'll tell you what we've done is we've integrated with Fortnite, which might sound super surprising, but they're able to hold tens of millions of people concurrently. They've built the infrastructure, and being a platform that's integrated with them, we've learned a lot about what people do in these larger mass player ecosystems and how to facilitate that. So we really have to put ourselves in a position to understand what people are doing when they come from all these places, so we can better prepare. We're way far away from where we need to be, but I'm here with anybody else who wants to stand with me to champion that cause.
And Charlene, we're here to stand with you as well as a community. Thank you for bringing that up. Stefan, please tell us your final thoughts as we almost close up.
Okay, so maybe I think most of the GatherVerses have been in English. And so I think there may have been or be a large part of the world that hasn't been able to have as much influence. And this is all types of conferences because of literacy and literally knowing what we're hearing in here right now. So just bring us to them. Well, no, making sure we're teaching globally when it comes to AI literacy, I think is something big.
Yes, definitely. And thank you for bringing that up. I personally come from Africa. Africa, we have over 5,000 tribes. Personally, in my country, we have over 47 tribes, people who speak differently. And having that common ground of finding one language that will unite us, and just bringing people together, and also having educators who are willing to go, I know English. Am I willing to go out there in the community to spread the word using my local language? It comes from that angle as well. But I want to hear your final close, Richard, Nisha, Tanya. Give me briefly, what do you have to say? Richard?
Well,
Kind of
yeah.
briefly?
Well, again, I never got to get to the guarantee. Like, is there a way we can guarantee this to serve humanity? And I know right now we can't because these like layered levels don't even exist yet. But the parallels that we can find is like in the financial system, right? Like the deposit insurance and audit requirements, fiduciary duties all happened after crises, right? So like the really kind of like the point I try to get out, or or at least a question worth raising, is that do we want to wait for a 2008 financial like issue, with immersive, technologies, before we start to build the regulatory scaffolding, for next time.
Yes, the time is now. The time is now. We
Right.
don't have to
And
wait.
it should be us, right?
Yes,
Because
and you see,
like we understand, we can at least put language to it. We kind of where it goes.
yes.
Do we leave it to politics? Or government? Like I don't know about that.
It's a multi-stakeholder approach. Everywhere, education, governance, people, everyone, everywhere. Tanya, then to you, Anisha, briefly.
Yes, I would agree that there are multiple stakeholders involved, and we all need to work on this together and make sure that what we are building is having a people-centric approach. It's built around the people. It's taught of people, and what and our main purpose is to serve humanity and not create something that is just for the sake of creation or innovation, but something that genuinely help people in their daily lives, whether it's safety, whether it's just helping them in with their health or anything. And I feel that all of us need to work on it together to make sure that happens.
Yes, as we always say, GatherVerse humanity comes first. Anisha, briefly, what is your final take?
Hi. So for me, I feel that when you actually go around the world, different countries and different sections, so people have different levels of understanding about what access is and about what control is. And I think education is very, very important. Like organizations should actually focus on educating people about like access and control, and also the cultural differences should be taken into account when you actually build systems which control and build systems which actually take control over immersive technology. And a lot of people in different countries have a different understanding of their access rights and control. Is like a person in America and a person in India will have different levels of understanding. So I think while global differences are important, but cultural differences should also be taken into account.
Yes, that is a very, very strong conclusion. And as I always say, we have not run out of gathers, we just ran out of time. So we have more future events coming up. We're looking forward to have you back again. We appreciate your expressions. You are very kind. Thank you for the education. Thank you for your time. And for the audience, I request you kindly follow these amazing leaders, what they're doing, interact with them, engage with what they're doing. But as for now, our roundtable was well. Over to you, GatherVerse team. Thank you.
Bye bye.